Do we have any apologies?
No apologies, Madam Mayor.
We're all here. Excellent. Any declarations of interest? Are we going to go through the normal? Yeah.
District councils, yeah.
Is that all right? Everybody happy to repeat what's been said before?
Yep.
Thank you very much, everyone. Item 3, Mayor's report on urgent items. Although this is an extraordinary meeting, I won't add to anything. So I don't think we have any urgent items, do we, Town Clerk?
No, we don't, Madam Mayor.
Yeah. So item 4, public questions in accordance with Standing Order 22. Do we have any?
None received, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And item 5, questions which have previously been submitted by members of the council.
And none received.
No. It's all looking good. So it's item 6, officers' reports, transfer of Rothamsted Park. So I think I'll just hand straight over to the Town Clerk to introduce this item.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just would like to say a few words that picks out some key things in the report that's come around, but also adds a couple of additional points that that Council as a full body may not be aware of. So as you will be aware, in February the Council appointed the Task and Finish Group to oversee the due diligence work for the transfer of Rothamsted Park. And since then, officers have worked very closely with that Task and Finish Group to provide the information that's needed to carry out the task that Council had given. This Council has been really committed to completing the transfer of the asset by the end of this month, tomorrow. And we've certainly backed that commitment up by acting upon the various documents and the various actions that have been needed from us along the way. However, Council will note that on the report that followed, that we are now currently expecting to complete the transfer on the 8th of April. And the reason for that is set out in the report. So officers have been working to produce the various transfer documents that reflect the principles that the Council have asked us to take forward, and indeed the vision that the Council has for the future improvement of Rothamsted Park itself. And personally, I'm really grateful to the Task and Finish Group for the work that it has done in turning around comments very quickly on various documents, lots of documents, I think it's fair to say, and certainly supporting the due diligence work that we've been carrying out. We set out in the report some of the documents or the types of documents that we've been looking at, but just to reiterate some of those, that includes various contracts, transfer agreements, overage deeds, condition surveys, leases, licenses agreements, and much more, that all have formed part of the sort of suite of documents that reflect the transfer. I also would like to say, Madam Mayor, that I think I'm certainly incredibly grateful to our solicitor, Ian Davison from Surrey Hills, who has brought a really invaluable set of knowledge and experience, not only of town and parish councils, but also specifically around devolution and asset transfer. And I think it's fair to say that lots of individuals on all sides have learnt an awful lot from working with him on this particular process. So we're now at the point where we have well progressed transfer documents that the Task and Finish Group have been commented on. However, we are yet to agree a final set of documents. And formally, we are currently waiting for the District Council to respond to our latest set of suggested changes. And I'm very hopeful that tomorrow we will have some positive feedback on them. So the suggested changes that are outstanding, there are lots of important but minor points, but I do want to make Council aware of two key issues that need resolving, and the Task and Finish Group are aware of that. So the two key issues from my perspective are firstly relating to accrued liabilities on flooding. So in the latest suggested changes, we have, I say the latest, throughout our suggested changes, we have requested wording that sets out that the Town Council will take on no accrued liabilities in the park. And we say that with particular reference to flood surface water issues. Now, this is a suggestion and amendment that we've put in on a number of occasions, and so far it has been rejected, and we are seeking clarity now and reinstatement of our wording relating to that. And I hope that tomorrow we will get some positive news on that one. The second area that I believe is a kind of a key issue relates to the district council retained land and the new development. And we're seeking wording that ensures that that retained land and development does not cause an increase to any surface water issues entering the park. So again, a crucial principle that the council has spoken about on a number of occasions. So we certainly believe that these are two very reasonable but vital additions that need to go into the paperwork. And as I say, we're awaiting feedback, and I hope that following some interventions in the last 48 hours, we get some positive feedback on those tomorrow. It's worth saying that if our additions are not accepted, then we're going to need to seek further advice from our solicitor, and I will need to provide a view to the task and finish group as to what the way forward is in relation to those matters if we don't get the positive feedback that we think is reasonable. So Madam Mayor, just that is it on the transfer today. I do also just want to make an additional point, and that is that on a very positive note, we're making really good progress in relation to delivering some of the council's priorities for the park when we take ownership. Can I just check, can everyone still hear me, or have we got connection issues? On our work to deliver the new play area and our engagement with the play provider, we are looking to be opening that play area early in the summer holidays, which is a big positive. And secondly, we're having really positive conversations with the partners involved in the 3G pitch project, and we expect to start the formal funding application as soon as we take ownership of the park. So thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to take any questions on anything I've talked about so far or anything in the report. I am a bit concerned about the connection though, because I've got lots of frozen faces.
The first person is Nigel, Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One or two quick questions, more for enlightenment from the town clerk probably. We've raised the issue of the neglect of work on the trees in the past. Was there a schedule agreed finally as to what work was required, and is that being carried out properly and expeditiously by St Albans District Council at their cost? That's point one. Carol, town clerk.
Yes, Madam Mayor. So can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. So Madam Mayor, the last July we set out, and September, a series of health and safety surveys in relation to trees. The District Council committed to getting the urgent health and safety tree works carried out. We have indication so far that the majority of that has been undertaken. However, we need further clarity that it's all been done, and that clarity will be needed prior to us taking completion or taking ownership of the asset. So that has been one of the key principles throughout, and it is entirely at the District Council's cost that tree work has been undertaken.
So may I, as a supplementary, is that actually a condition precedent in the agreement? Or is it a side agreement to make it legally? Is it a condition precedent to make it legally enforceable?
So, Madam Mayor, so it's not a condition within any documents, because the documents are at the point of completing, and what we are saying is we will only complete once the tree works has been carried out. So once we've received satisfactory confirmation and checked it for ourselves that the work that was stated has been done, then only at that point would we enable the completion to, would we sign off on the completion.
Does that mean you can't, if that work hasn't been done, you can't start the work on the play park? I mean, my concern is I'd rather have completion and have an obligation on them to do the work post completion, subject to our control, possibly. I wouldn't want to hold up the work on the play park.
Yeah, Madam Mayor. So I would expect that the tree works will all be sorted by the time in which we come to completion on the 8th of April. If they aren't sorted, then I will advise the task and finish group of a way forward on that. But I would certainly support the suggestion that Councillor Turnbull made there, that the tree work or any lack of work on the tree work should not hold up any of the other development projects. but it shouldn't do. I don't think that will occur anyway.
May I, Madam Mayor, raise my second point? Cycling around the park, I noticed that the entrance to the park, the road into the park, the paths, etc., the daffodil areas have been totally trashed by all the work undertaken by the contractors. What written obligation is there to reinstate that back to a fit state so that we as a council don't end up with a large care and maintenance bill to put right damage undertaken by particularly heavy trucks and vehicles on these paths and roads?
Madam Mayor, if I may, I am struggling with, I can hear Councillor Turnbull, I can't see anybody else. So if I jump in and respond before you invite me to, then I apologise. So
No problem.
there is a mechanism within the contract for the development of the Wilmot Dixon to be making good any damage that they make as part of the build. Within the transfer documents that we've got, there are areas that we have granted or will be granting a license back or a lease back to the district for their site compound area. As part of that, we have insisted that within that they make good any common parts of the park that have issues caused by any traffic relating to the development. So in essence, yes, they will be making good, and we have a mechanism through the transfer documents to ensure that actually happens.
Thank you. Councillor.
Councillor Cowley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let's start thanking the officers and the Task and Finish group for what sounds like a good deal of hard work that's gone into ensuring that we have we're getting close to being able to complete. I'm just conscious of the very small number of working days between now and the 8th, and it does sound like there are quite a lot of issues outstanding. And I just wanted to know how confident the town clerk is that we will be able to complete on the 8th of April if we were to pass that motion as I expect we will tonight.
Yes, Madam Mayor, so I remain very confident, and if we get positive feedback to our reasonable suggestions in the next 24 hours, then we should be sorted by this week. The 8th of April gives us an extra buffer time, but we've been working towards the 31st of March anyway, so I remain confident, but it does depend on the response that we get back from District Council, and then if we need to, we will need to take further advice on that response.
Councillor Turnbull.
Sorry, thank you, Madam Mayor. One last point. I think the town clerk very indicated that liability for any pre-transfer flooding is down to the vendor, which is obviously the district council. Are we happy, leaving aside that we aren't acquiring land that is going to give us an ongoing problem of general flooding damage vis-a-vis the houses on Leighton Road? I wouldn't like to find we're picking up an asset that's going to cost us couple of hundred thousand per annum going forward because there's more rain we've had in the past, leaving aside any claim we might have on the development that's taken place on the leisure centre. I'm assuming that's taken care of in the agreement. I'm thinking more of, are we happy that the land we're acquiring is not a fundamental liability rather than an asset going forward on the flooding issue? Has there been any underlying work on the flooding problems of this area generally?
Town clerk.
So, Madam Mayor, so I know this is an issue that Council have considered previously, and certain individual councillors have done some very detailed work on this. So we do know that there is a surface water flow through the park. That is supposed to be a problem 1 in every 100 years, I believe. However, we do know that we've had an increased number of issues in recent years. There's been an awful lot of work that's been undertaken, and I can't take any credit for this. Certainly, Councillor Butterworth has been one of the drivers behind it, and that is working with the District Council and third-party organisations such as Thames Water and Rothampstead Estate to address some of the issues that we know are apparent further kind of upstream of the flow of the water, if you like. So as a result of that work, we know that Rothampton Estate are carrying out some remedial work to address some of the issues that have been found on their land in relation to damaged manhole covers and damaged sewers. So we know that there's work being undertaken on that, which we believe will improve some issues. However, it's a bit unknown as to then what happens to the surface water that would have otherwise gone down those damaged manholes. So we know that when we take responsibility of the land, that we will be liable as landowners. However, what we would need to do is look to take on or put in place reasonable measures that look to address any issues that exist. And council previously indicated that they will be setting up a task and finish group to look at flood management issues around that area. And it'll be the job of that working group or task and finish group to quickly and analyse some of the potential options and come up with a way forward for council. There is some existing analysis work that's been carried out, but we would need to build on that.
Thank you. Councillor Butterworth.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of things. First, a comment, if I may. The law firm we've hired, Surrey Hills, are actually very impressive, and that I think that's a very good find out of the town clerk, because they seem very knowledgeable both on local authorities law and also transfers and conveyancing, and it's sometimes quite unusual to find that the right combination comes up with an individual, and who also seems to be user friendly and quick with the turnaround. So well done there to Carl. Second point, if I may, because I have spent some time considering the flooding, I agree 100% with what the town clerk has said on that issue. And in particular, there is a map which the Environmental Association have produced, which shows the flood risk down from up near Rotherton Manor down through the park. And that's because of the lie of the land and down the high street and then south along the common. It is essentially the hollow in a valley, and there is an underground stream there already. And yes, there is a risk that water will come down from the hills on either side. You can't alter that. And yes, there is the risk of rain. If we get heavier rain more frequently than we have in the past, then yes, that is a real risk. There has been some very preliminary work as to what one might do with it, but not, I would say, in an organised way. And I think that will come when the town acquires the park, and we can have someone who's actually very good at pulling things together and getting people to work together in a determined way onto the job, namely our town clerk, because it will involve another number of outside agencies and expertise way beyond what I know. I'm a mere amateur, but essentially what we're looking at is mitigating a risk that will come around from time to time, and it may be once every 5 or 10 years rather than once every 100, as it turns out. And it's difficult to know what to do with the quantity of water. Can you hold it back? Well, to a limited degree. Can you dig a big hole so it all sinks and soaks away? Maybe to a limited degree. Can you build a barrier at the end of the flow? Well, there is one already for one of the houses. Could that be extended for the others and the fire station? Well, maybe. All of that's to be looked at. So that is a risk. If we don't like that risk, then we don't acquire the park. But I think the general tenor of discussions has been that we want the park. There are good things we can do with it. This is something we will have to spend some money on, hopefully not too much, but it will cost something in both the study and the works to do. But certainly in my personal view, it's worth the risk. Life's full of risks. We can do a lot with the park. We can generate money from it. And I think it's personally risk worth taking. When we had the discussion shortly after Christmas, the flooding of October, which was horrific, was fresh in our minds, and also the also extensive, not quite so bad flooding in January was fresh in our minds, and we didn't know the cause, and I found that deeply upsetting. We now do know the precise cause. It was made worse by partly a blocked drain and partly that the manhole covers for the sewers on the Rothand estate had not been maintained properly for 10, 20 years, and that will now be seen to. It won't stop the flow of water, it'll make it different, but at least we understand it, and that for me is fine. Thank you,
Thank
Madam
you.
Mayor.
And if I may, thank you very much for all the work you put into this. You put a tremendous amount of work in, and really very much appreciated by all of us. Does anybody else have a comment or a question that they would like to raise? We have a number of recommendations. If you're happy for us to go straight to those. Okay, in which case the first recommendation 2.1.1, note that it is considered the proposed acquisition of the freehold of Rothamsted Park for £1, with the exception of the new leisure centre, new cultural centre, new depot and car parks from St Albans District Council. 2.1.2, note the due diligence carried out by the Task and Finish Group. 2.1.3, note that the council is being advised by Surrey Hills solicitors. 2.1.4, note that it is proposed that the acquisition take place on or shortly after 8th of April 2021, so that from that date the council own and manage Rothamsted Park as an open space for the benefit of residents of Harpenden. Given that all those are for noting, are we happy so to do? I think that's unanimous. There's nothing on the chat, so I'm going to go with unanimous. Thank you. The next one, 2.1.5, is approve the acquisition of Rothamsted Park, subject to the town clerk finalising the sale agreement and related documents, being the transfer, preemption deed, overage deed, and lease of the tennis courts and multi-use games area, and related documents in consultation with the Task and Finish Group. Do we have your approval? Lovely, thank you. 2.1.6, authorise the town clerk to execute the sale agreement and related agreements and documents in the case of a deed by applying the council's common seal and otherwise by signature, and where a second witness or signatory is required, authorises the mayor or deputy mayor to be the second witness or signatory. All agreed? Excellent. I think that is us. I think that's our business concluded.